All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Run with the Wind, Episode 7.
King has had his moment of realization that running maybe actually can help.
Yeah, and a lot of the players have basically come to kind of the point of where they're taking this not only seriously, but they're getting a lot of meaning out of running, and then that purpose is pushing them to actually, like, take this for their own. So, Haiji, you've kind of won. Like, this is a big step. And given that, like, they're, stepping up the practices to, be specifically pushing the limits of each individual member.
How much they can run and how fast and things like that. Endurance, that will definitely help, because the first track meet is coming up. It's very soon. Now, they don't all need to make their time on this track meet. Prince will probably take till the very last track meet before the qualifier. But, it would be helpful if they could hit the ground running.
Yeah, what it'll do also is it will provide an opportunity for actual discouragement to happen.
Sure.
Because what'll happen is there will be a lot of them that just will not make it. They just won't make it. They will not make the time. But the idea that they'll look at that time and look back at basically how much progress they've made and probably initially get like, oh, this is it, and this is the bar that I need to reach. But then realizing, whoa, wait a minute.
Hold on.
I actually am making progress. And even if I don't, get the ability to run in the Hakone Ekiden, this is gonna mean
Still
something.
doing good.
And it's gonna feel wonderful to have that moment where they actually do overcome their own, like, physical limitations.
Right, because even Prince, he recently shaved off like 2 minutes almost off of his time, which 2 minutes off of 45 or whatever it was isn't, a ton percentage-wise, but still, that's 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think he, I'm trying to remember what the time was that he did last, but I think he needs to shave off about 40% of his time. It's basically that he's walking after a certain point when he's going. And it's we need to put some meat on this guy.
We do.
Y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Power ceiling is established.
Yeah. We basically got now a new character, primarily the one being set up as basically this is the old friend of Haiji's.
Right.
Someone who was a professional, like, even before this, and now he is basically the pinnacle of college running, which is kind of a cool way to say that basically these are the two fourth years, of the whole, like, setup here, and thus he's an actual physical specimen.
Right.
But then in terms of character, he is above them as well. One of the things that was kind of astonishing was how much he just emulated a lot of what Haiji kind of carries, in that he didn't seem to have any ego in this.
Yes.
Nothing, nothing at all.
At first, when you said Haiji, I was like, wait a minute, Haiji's temperament is totally different, and then I was like, oh no, the pride aspect.
Which was a big deal for Kakeru. Like, wow.
Because buddy, you may be amazing at running, and even after not really practicing that much, since the days when you were really taking this seriously, you still haven't made up for that lost time, because these guys,
they lived it.
They didn't take that break, So yes, you're able to beat most of the other people here, but when it comes right down to it, you only come in third. And it's by a long shot. Yeah,
exactly. That talent was something that basically allowed you to push yourself up to third place.
Right.
But it was something where, hey,
it'll only carry you so far.
The hard work, if anything, is really needed here. And I feel like the hard work is going to smooth out a lot of the personality stuff with this here as well. I had a little discussion with Jacob in between discussion and the reaction and stuff like this. I recognized something in what Kakeru was doing here that I've seen in myself and a lot of other athletes in general. And it's a very ego-specific thing when you have a competition that involves individuals. So meaning it's less of a team-oriented thing and more of a one-on-one, free-for-all kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that is you look around and you determine who's the closest one to my skill level. Who's the one that matches my stats the closest. And then you basically determine, I'm going to beat them. And Kakeru basically heard, he's the pinnacle of college running, and was like, then he is worthy.
Right.
Which is such an arrogant kind
it's
of
like, wow, high opinion of yourself, much
assumption there.
And granted, yes, Kakeru is fantastic. So there's some reason for him to have that high opinion of himself. But slow down, Icarus. You are going to melt. Your wings will melt and you will fall.
They even use the sideline people to be like, and there's people that always try to catch up to him and match his pacing, but then they end up getting burnt out, which I believe was actually Manus or.
That might have been Manus.
Yeah, Manus was one they were talking about. But that's because his pacing is one that takes him out to the front rather quickly because, I would say, technically speaking, in these types of running situations, there is a huge advantage to being physically in front of the crowd. You don't want to be the very first person, just personally, because there is a psychological advantage to seeing someone else in front of you, but you don't want to have people physically blocking you so that you end up bumping elbows and shoulders and stuff, because that did happen to everyone there.
And the fact that Kakeru, when he was like, all right, I'm going to go to the front here, he went all the way to the side, which means that he technically has to run a bit farther, but he's no, all right, slowpokes, get out of my way. I'm just gonna get it in front of all of you all at once.
Yeah, because if you run the math on it, you do need to take advantage of the time, because even if you increase your speed to a certain point, if they have a time advantage on you at running at a higher speed, you might not be able to catch up in time by the time the whole race is over. So making sure that you run efficiently is important just as much as that is you run at a consistent pace with where your physical abilities are.
Right. And I would say the efficiency of the runners is where a lot of the pride or lack thereof was shown in this episode, because Kakeru, he comes up on Fujioka, and there's this he gives him that kind of look, right? That you pointed out.
Are you before the running bit, or
that might have been before the running bit when they were just warming up. But,
they were warming
but there's
up,
there's a kind of dismissiveness to it, right? And then when he actually gets into the point where it's all right, I'm gonna come in first on this. The person that's in first is Manus for that time, right?
Yep.
And and that's maybe because Manus is like, all right, I'm gonna beat Fujioka, right? And then he comes in and he's like, I'm gonna beat you. And then they get into this thing of well, who's better, right? Who's faster, And they both end up kind of burning out. Whereas with Fujioka, he just keeps doing his thing, and until the point where he passes Kakeru, looking at him, you would not be able to tell that he is the pinnacle of college running, right?
It's true.
He just sort of blends in, and then at the end, when it really matters, he explodes, right? And it was almost no contest, right?
Yeah, almost no contest at all.
Certainly not with Kakeru.
Yeah, the also bit where they basically showed them at the end, and Kakeru was the one mostly breathing heavily and twitching and stuff, and Manus was breathing heavily as well, but definitely not twitching. But Fujioka was barely even breathing hard. He was just like,
another day.
All right, yeah.
Yep.
And that's just showing he was basically just doing this to check off a box.
Right.
He did not need to impress anyone or show anything off.
He didn't need to even push his limits.
Right. And even when he bumps into Kakeru later, he basically goes,
I heard about you.
Yeah, Kurahara. And he's so professional, he's calling everyone by their last name and stuff as well, even referring to Haiji in the last name. I believe that was his last name.
Yeah.
But you can feel that he has this respect of, I heard there was someone, there was a wonderful runner in, was it Sendai?
I believe so.
Yeah, I can look back on this there. But basically, you got this feeling that he wasn't, trying to prove anything, or he wasn't being,
he wasn't
diminutive.
lording over his victory or anything like that, or being patronizing or anything. He was like, yeah. Good luck with your new team. Haiji will need you to help lead them.
Yeah, and that bit, the idea that he was like, lead them with him.
Right.
Basically saying,
Because this is a team sport.
Right, but I can also see the dynamic here rather well. He takes a look at the two of them and he goes, oh. He doesn't know exactly why he's with them specifically, but he sees you and Haiji are clearly
the best runners.
Runners there.
Yeah.
Not only did you guys are the only ones that placed in your group, but you two are great runners. You are fantastic runners. And he's like, I know Haiji at his prime too.
Yeah, and he's
I didn't even need to see this to know that he was a great runner.
Right.
But like you are fantastic. So he's showing him respect and all this, like, I would say deference that he
doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to. He could just be like, hey, just, friendly tip. And, just be like Haiji's a fantastic guy. You should really help him out in this because, he's trying to warm up and build rapport and stuff. And yeah, this is apparently the pinnacle of college running in Japan. Like that. This guy's serious.
And by the way, Kakeru, even though you did lose to him, and it was by a definitive margin, focusing just on the fact that you lost, it's like, okay, I get it, because you're super competitive, and at this level you kind of have to be. But at the same time, yeah, that was with taking time off.
Right.
So,
but remember
keep putting in the good work.
Remember who his high school coach was. He's been grilled and drilled into his head that the competition side of things is like everything. So in a lot of ways, what I almost feel like this is this is a character like undoing their trauma.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And basically, he doesn't have an easy solution for it. So he's watching all these people who are competent.
Oh, yeah.
Like really competent runners and stuff. And now he's realizing there's this world of, dude, like, we're not desperate or like needing this. We love this. Like, we just are in love with it.
Yeah.
So we put our effort into it. We apply that energy, but it's for us. And it's not for anyone else around here. Like that's what I love about this guy, Fujioka. He runs for himself.
Yep.
In the best possible way. Because the ego kind of things in some ways is actually more running so that other people see how fast you are.
Sure. Yeah.
Like you'd think it would be a selfish thing to run for yourself, right?
Right. But yeah. And it's probably both. It's so that other people see it and so that that they see it. Kind of a thing, right?
Right. But if there were no people on this track, who's he competing against? Right?
Yeah.
He would run differently if there were zero people on this track. If there was a robot basically just giving the time, and basically he just gets a little tracker thing.
Yeah, he probably would have run better.
Completely differently.
He probably would have gotten a better time.
Yep.
I mean, maybe not too much better because it did cause him to push him to his absolute limit. But just for making his running more efficient, he probably would have had a better time if he had not been with anybody, because then he just, he wouldn't have gone into the inefficient territory.
Yeah, he wouldn't have gotten mixed up in the idea that he's needing to compete with these people when he's clearly going to make the time.
Right.
Like Haiji's injured and he made the time.
Right. He
was way behind you. Like, way behind you.
One of the things that I find really interesting that they're kind of bringing up about running is that with other sports, yes, there is the who wins, who loses kind of a thing, right? Because there is that competition aspect.
Sure.
But with running, it's concretely, objectively, numbers, right?
It's a numbers game. Yeah.
It's not even like scoring points because because then you could even say that like, oh, well, that was an easy point or something like that, because something happened, circumstances were different, whatever. Right. No, this is literally just how fast is your time?
Your feet per second.
Right. Like what is your time?
Over time.
How much when did you finish, right?
Yep.
That's it. So
no one cares if you were in 5th, 7th, or, 120th.
Well, even if they do, the thing that differentiates whether you were or not is plain as day, right? So it makes sense that Kakeru would, especially with his past, be this competitive, right? But maybe he doesn't necessarily need to be that way.
Nope.
I love Prince, not just because he's the underdog, but also because of the commentary that he gives on the other people there. The whole thing of when someone like called him stupid or whatever, it's like, oh, I hate that, right?
Yeah.
And of course he does, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I really want to see him grow because he's the one who has the opposite problem of Kakeru, right? He is definitely humble, as opposed to being proud, and he doesn't have any of the talent or technical ability, right?
Right.
Like the fact that the person was like, "Hey, you seem dehydrated. Do you want to like stop or something?
Do you want to call it quits?
Do you want to call it quits?" And he's like, "This is how I always run."
Yeah. And the guy's like, "What?"
Yeah. And I love that Prince had to basically be like, okay, I'm gonna psych myself up before this by reading manga.
Yeah, probably some shonen manga.
Right, exactly. Because this is gonna be so embarrassing and so humiliating. I'm filling in the gaps here.
Right.
He didn't.
This is going to be
a
hard time.
But this is going to be a hard time, and it's going to be with a bunch of people watching that do this as their livelihood almost, right? Like they really pour everything they have into this on top of the talent. And here I am
with no talent,
just shuffling my way around the track. Right.
Yep.
But you know what? You still ran a 5K.
Yep.
And you got it in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So good job.
Yeah, good job. But like having all the players have this moment where I legitimately thought like one of the JoJo twins were probably going to like make it, or maybe even both of them. Like I thought they were probably the ones that had the next best shot of getting basically to qualify. But no, they came close. You know, like a couple of them did like they were not bad and stuff like that. But let me see who are the ones that were kind of close. I think they said they finished a couple of them in 18 minutes here, and it was Musa,
and some of them did 17.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, Musa, Joji, and Jota. So Joji and Jota were the top runners along with Musa, but around 17 minutes. That is not that far behind.
No, that's real damn good. Like if
for just having a thing where they both or all three of them in this case. I was taking the twins as one unit.
Right.
But all three have talent. Their physical bodies are built for running in ways that the others aren't necessarily as primed.
And I believe they have all had some decent practice with running.
I believe the main ones is that the JoJo twins, they played soccer along with King.
Right.
They weren't on the same team necessarily, but they played soccer at the point there. I don't believe Musa has any sports under his belt specifically.
Gotcha.
But he's pretty good. And then they had Nico-chan and a couple others.
Shindo and Yuki.
Finished around 18 minutes.
Right.
Yep. And...
Because, and yes, shaving a minute off when you're at the 17, 18-minute mark, that's a ton. That's ridiculous, right? Because then the percentage increase that you're getting is a lot, right?
Yeah.
As far as the time you're shaving off. But still, you're close. You're close.
Right, but I'll just tell you, it's actually not that much for a 5K. The difference of shaving off a minute, it's not that hard. The tricky thing with a 5K specifically is I'd say most people, once they hit about the 1.5 to 2 mile mark in it, that's when they've basically won or lost. If they've hit their pace properly from that point and then continue it on for the rest of it, or are able to pick up the pace a little bit, it should be fine.
And that was kind of what seemed to happen here, is that once they hit that mark, that was where the endurance started to show that they weren't fully comfortable just breezing through this. So as a result of that, they started to slow down a little bit, and that's where the speed could probably be picked up.
Right. And that is, a lot of it is a mental game.
Sure.
There was a time when I had a lot of encouragement from people that I knew to just pick up just running a mile and timing myself. And I was running, 10.5-minute miles, which is that's it's not fast.
They're already running, a lot faster than that. Yeah.
It only took me a few months to get down to 8 minutes.
Gotcha.
And 8 minutes 0-0, and that wasn't where I stopped. It eventually got down to 7:40,
Right, and that was probably with just running on your own without any particular diet or exercise to facilitate that. It's not like you had a running coach or something.
No. What I had was basically an accountability partner who made sure that I wrote my times down and I kept them on track through a little device thing.
Yeah.
But the main thing was that I did, I think, a mile 3 or 4 times a week every week for that whole time.
Yeah.
And it was wavering at times. It was sometimes I would do a 12-minute mile, but it was my PB was 10:30, and I'm yeah.
Right.
All right. And I'm like, I have an athletic build, so I should be able to do like way better. But it was like, oh, average people my age, height, and all that. That are in the athletic side of things, they're running 6-minute miles.
Well, yeah, and that's basically what Shindo and Yuki were doing here, because 18 minutes for a 5K, because 5 kilometers is almost exactly 3 miles. It's very close.
It's a little less, I would say.
Yeah, but it's real close. So they're basically doing 6-minute miles here, which 6-minute mile, that basically means you're doing 10 miles an hour? I forget how it goes.
I'm just gonna quickly check, because I think it's actually a little bit less. Hold on, 5 to miles. It's
3.1 miles.
It is 3.1 miles.
Oh, so it's actually a bit more. So if they finished around 18 minutes, then they're at or maybe just a little bit better than a 6-minute mile.
Oh,
that's fantastic.
Wait, then they're doing great.
Yeah, they're doing wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, which is probably again why Haiji was specifically having them practice on things much longer than a 5K, because that way, so that when they do the 5K, they can actually like keep up a good speed for hopefully the whole thing. Because
oh my god!
For the Ekiden, that's. I mean, yeah, that's gonna be something, because and that's the thing that blows me away, because I keep thinking like they need to hit these speeds in order to run the Ekiden. No, they need to run these speeds in order to be able to apply to qualify for the Ekiden.
Yeah,
and then they need to do well enough that they get accepted as one of the people to run, one of the groups to run. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I gotta say that one of the things that would be a really clever way for this show to go, because I think the numbers just hit me, realizing that it is almost impossible for Prince to actually get to this point, is that Haiji doesn't care. He's not actually like needing it to be something where they like get it all to where they would actually do this. Now, although, there are ways. If it is not impossible, it is just improbable.
If they get to the point where they're running in the qualifier, then at that point they're functioning as a team, and then hopefully Kakeru and Haiji can help compensate for Prince if he's able to make it to the point where he does the 5K in 16 minutes.
God, that just.
But.
Oh, that's.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I'm just thinking about it now, and I'm realizing, oh my god, this is actually like way, way harder than I thought it was initially. So, okay.
But yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. At this point, if it's just over 3 miles for a 5K, that means that Prince, if you did a 30-minute 5K, that means you're at 10-minute miles for 3 of them back to back. Like, that's not Ekiden level by any stretch, but that's definitely better than a regular person that hadn't done running would do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Okay, but wow, y'all, this is going to be tough. The road up ahead is very steep.
Exactly. The mountains of the Ekiden are the highest in the world, or whatever.
Yeah. And they're going to need both Haiji and Kakeru to help lead them here.
Yep.
Because this is not going to be.
And Kakeru, that was not leading there. No. You were close. You could have.
You were so close.
Like that was
so close.
Like if you had stuck around, because the thing is that Haiji is definitely the positive side of the coin, right? And you could do the good cop bad cop thing, right? Where you could have Kakeru come in and be like, all right, now you guys know what you're up against. You know how serious this is. Like so if we're doing this, then let's do this. But we gotta take this as seriously as everyone else is. Right. That could have been a really wonderful moment that's then balanced out with Haiji being the more sort of nurturing one of the two, right?
Sure, exactly.
But not finishing what you were going to say, and then instead just leaving, that's not leading.
Doesn't help. So, Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
Yeah, information for that's in the description. We stream every weekday.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.